a bit intense, isn't it? Maybe I need to sit back here. Cool, that's a little bit better, maybe. That's a little bit better there, I think. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me, Debs Cooper, Global Stressologist. Today, as I talk about crying is actually healthy. Oh, who would have thought I'd be talking about that in these times? These times, whatever these times are. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. And I would love to know if you're here live or if you're here on a replay and where you are in the world, which would be fabulous and awesome. So, Debs Cooper, Global Stressologist, talking about crying is actually healthy. Now, I don't know if you've been brought up to think that you need to hold your emotions in or whatever it is, whatever story you have trapped inside you. So I actually want to show you today, I'm going to give you some tips, show you that crying is an amazing thing for you. But I'm going to go down the why path first because I'm just going to make sure my volume's up. Why is an endless cycle. We know that. When you ask the questions, why? It's an endless cycle that often we don't get an answer to. True. So I'm going to give you the why to start with, even though it's an endless cycle, because there's different reasons why we cry. There's different. There is frustration. Oh, nothing's working. The traffic, the children, the food, I'm exercising and I'm not losing weight. I'm saving my money and I'm having to get it spent. So whatever that frustration is, that can make you cry. Sadness. And when I say sadness, it could be grief, it could be a loss of a loved one, or it could be a loss of something in your life. It could just be, I'm just sad, I don't know what it is, I'm just sad, whatever it is. There's also gratitude, and they're different tears. There's the gratitude, oh, I'm so incredibly thankful for that, and the tears start flowing. So when I say these things, I'd love you to actually just go, yeah, I've done that. Yep, I can see that, I can see those things. With the gratitude, there's also another one called inspiration. When you have an idea and it comes to you and you're just like, oh, I'm so inspired about doing this, you become overwhelmed, overjoyed, whatever you want to call it. And it's an inspiration that comes from deep within you and you're like, oh, I'm so inspired about doing this. And the tears just flow. I often, I have a shower trick that I do. And that shower trick is actually, the tears of inspiration come often when I'm in the shower. It's not really a shower trick, but it's just a little exercise I do in the shower. And it allows the tears to flow from inspiration. In fact, if you'd like to know what that shower trick is, put it in the comments and I'll let everybody know, because I don't know if you want to know or not. Anyway, the other tears that you get is exhaustion, and this seems to be something that is coming more and more, because now I'm going to talk about 2020. 2020 was an interesting one for everybody around. You know what I'm talking about. And it stirred up a lot of emotions, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration, a lot of everything come up. But exhaustion, we were exhausted. We as a nation, we as a country were exhausted about doing what we were doing, and then we had to stop. So when we then started moving back into that level of, okay, I'm back into it, but it feels like we've actually jumped the gun, and did you say jump the gun? I don't know if that's actually a sentence. And we're going faster and faster. So we're exhausted. We're tired about doing certain things. When you get into bed at night, you just go, oh, I'm so thankful I'm here. Oh, I'm absolutely exhausted from my day. Or my mind's racing, or my heart's racing, or my body's shutting down, or whatever. Exhaustion. It's coming more and more to people. So this is why I'm explaining about the tears and why they're healthy. Because exhaustion is one that will knock your whole body as well, not just the tears. The other one you get is, and I did it this morning, I cracked my toe on the edge of the couch and, oh, the language and the body and the whole emotion came up because it damn well hurt. It really hurt. So you cry because there was pain. And I actually didn't cry, but out came all the language instead. So you can cry because it's painful. It just feels painful because there's a lot of emotion around these tears. But my favorite one, this is my favorite one that my daughter got used to when she was growing up, and that's just because. Why are you crying? Just because. And you don't have to have a reason. You don't have to have a reason, but you just cry because you just cry. You just cry because you just cry. So be aware of those emotions, those triggers, those, just be aware of those things when you go to cry. Don't feel like you're going to have to find a solution. Oh, why am I crying? What's going on? What have I done? Da, da, da. Because when you're in that crying state, you actually can't even think clearly about what's really going on. So there's a good part to crying. Now I'm going to tell you about the healthy, why it's healthy, but there's actually a good part. And the good part is it releases your endorphins. It gives you a release and you feel good with this. It's also the oxytocin that can be released as well. So it releases a different level of energy within you, and you actually become to feel good. As soon as you've had a good cry, people go have a good cry, go have a good cry, and then come out the other side. We know that. People say, go have a good cry it out. And it just allows you to release everything that's going on. Even if you don't even try and find a solution, just go, why did I cry for 30 minutes today? What was going on? But it allows you to feel better at the end of it. Until your mind starts running a marathon on why is that happening and why did I do that in front of everybody, blah, 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 blah. And that marathon I'm going to talk about very soon. So it's actually great because you do release a level of something within you. Now, there's also a saying, and I say it to people still, is that you age when you cry. Now, that is true. You definitely age when you cry, but you don't cry when you've got tears of gratitude. You don't age when you have tears of gratitude, and you don't age when you have tears of inspiration or any goodie that comes into you. You know, you get your goosies and those sort of things. You're not going to age with those tears. You're definitely going to age with the frustration, the sadness, the pain, the exhaustion. You're going to age yourself. You're going to age your skin, your body, and everything around you if you cry because of the other things. But when you cry with gratitude, or you cry with inspiration, or when you get little goosies, erecties, whatever you want to call it, and you have those tears, you definitely don't age with those. That is going to keep you young. So if you're really inspired about changing your physical and your wrinkles around your eyes and any of those things, then look at your crying or what type of tears they are. But if you cry every day over gratitude or inspiration, you're going to stay youthful. That is a fact. And it's not a Deb's fact, it's a fact. So they're the tears you want to be doing. But it's also healthy to do the other tears. Just don't cry for 3 months on end every day because there's clearly something going on. So let me talk about unexpected tears. Unexpected emotions. Because unexpected emotions can bring up shame, guilt, just real stir up that yucky emotion. You go, oh, I can't believe I cried in front of my kids, or I can't believe I cried in front of my boss, or I can't believe I cried in front of the policeman, or I can't believe I cried in front of my neighbor, whatever it is. Yeah, we all say that. We all say those things. So shame and guilt. When my daughter was growing up, I was told you shouldn't cry in front of your children. You shouldn't cry in front of your children. And I was like, oh God, I can't cry in front of Sophie. I have to hide myself away and cry when she's not around and hold it in. And it was very hard because sometimes I was really just wanting to release whatever was going on. So I'm going to call wrong on that. I'm going to say that's wrong because you should cry. I encourage you to cry. Release it out. Now, I don't want you to hide from your children. So what you're doing is you're crying in the cupboard because you don't want to cry in front of your children. Then you're actually teaching your children to be secretive because children are not stupid. In fact, people are not stupid. They know, they can read your energy. Everybody knows, they can see that I'm fine, I'm good. No. If you're not, just say it. Look, you're wiser to show your emotions. You don't have to tell them everything. You don't have to say, I'm crying because Dad did this, or I'm crying because this. You don't have to give them your worries. I'm crying just because there's so much going on in my world. I'm just crying at the moment. So that's okay. You don't have to tell your children, I've got no money, I don't know where the next sort of food's going to come. I've got no petrol, I can't take you to school tomorrow. Like, forget those things. Don't tell them all the facts, but just don't hide it from your children. In fact, don't hide it from those closest to you because people are not silly. They can read it. When I'm talking to a client and they say, oh no, I'm good. I can hear it in their voice already. I'm not silly. I can hear it. So why don't lie to yourself? It's just an icky feeling when you're starting to lie to yourself and try to hide it. So if you don't express to people that I've got a few things going on, I'm just a little bit tired, or I'm just a little bit exhausted, or I'm a little bit frustrated with certain things going on, just say that. You don't have to bring other people into it. You don't have to, oh, let me talk to you about that. No, it's okay. I'm going to work through it. I've got somebody else I can work through. You don't have to bring your privates to people out in public. You don't have to. If you want to cry, cry. But just let me know, I've got a few things going on, so I'm a little bit tender at the moment. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing wrong with saying I'm a little bit tender. But just don't lie, because people can read, and when you start lying to people, you're actually lying to yourself as well. So it's on a downhill spiral. The other thing about crying is don't use it as a tactic. Don't use it as a tactic, because this is actually a real place. I went to a course probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they were teaching us to cry on stage. They were teaching us to cry on stage when we're a speaker. And it was the most uncomfortable, yuckiest feeling, disgusting thing I had to put myself through. Now, I didn't want to do it. I debunked and tried everything. Now, like, you need to do it. And I'm like, this is not for me. This is not for me. Yuck, 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 yuck. So the theory was to cry when someone's telling you a story. And you can relate to them. So someone goes, oh, this is what happened to me, and my father passed away, and I didn't get a chance to tell them I love them. And then you as a speaker were supposed to cry. No, I'm not going to cry unless I can relate to that story and it's really authentic. It's not me. I don't want to cry on demand. I don't want to cry on demand. It's just not me. I would rather be authentic and talk to them in my way than cry on demand. I had a court case quite a few years ago, and the judge said to me, if you had cried more. Man, I'd cried enough, and by the time I got to that point of being on stage, there was no way I was going to shed another tear. I was like, I'm done. I'm actually exhausted. There is no tears. There's nothing in here to come out. Nothing. You could probably whack my finger with a hammer and it's probably nothing's going to come out, because I literally have got no tears left. So don't use your tears as a tactic. Be authentic. Don't be that person, that speaker on stage, or when someone tells you a story and you're going to cry because you want to relate to them, whatever. Just don't do that, because that is so ugly as a person, to be the receiver, to be the giver of whatever that is. So just don't do it. And if I catch you crying on demand for a tactic, I will call you out. I will call you out, because it's not a nice place to be. Hence me not promoting that event anymore. So the other thing is, the value you're getting from the crying is it releases. And I'm going to say releasing. So it releases your built up emotions or energy or whatever you want to call it. The key is not to bottle it up. So you have a Coke bottle, and I say Coke, or a fizzy bottle in a bottle, and every time it shakes, every time you shake it, whatever's going on, it's going to explode. The moment you get that lid, you're just going to loosen the lid and it's going to explode and it's going to go everywhere. We know that. So the moment you start shaking things, this is what it is. So every time you hold on to something and you're bottling it up, think of that. I say Coke, it's not necessarily Coke, it's a fizzy bottle. The more you bottle it up, the more you bottle it up, the more you bottle it up, it's going to explode, and it often, 99%, 99.9 I'm going to say, explodes at the most inconvenient time for you. So don't bottle it up. It's wiser to let it go. So you must release these emotions in whatever way you prefer. If you want to cry, if you want to shout, whatever. I personally prefer not to shout at people. And if you want to go outside into the backyard, or you want to go outside into the car and shout in the car, that's okay. But doing it at somebody doesn't really help the situation. So just know when you're crying that you're releasing that built up tension. You know how at the very start I talked about our endorphins and our oxytocin? This is exactly it. So we're releasing all that emotion within us. So you're releasing things in your body, you're letting things go. It's like a form of detoxing, really. And once you've done it, it actually gives you a pep in your step. You're like, oh, okay, actually feel better about it. Phew, it's out. Now you can't take it back. So, oh, wow, I actually feel better. Who would have thought crying would actually make you feel better? I do. So be aware of that. The other thing is it also does is it awakens your senses. And I say awakens your senses because it lets you know that you have unresolved stuff. So you know you've got unresolved stuff. I know I've got unresolved stuff. There's unresolved stuff in everybody. If you don't think you've got any, well, welcome to a delusional world, because the universe will show you at full force of the things that are going on. So your body will tell you 100% of the time that's what's going on. But often we don't see it, or we're blind, or we're too busy, or we're not focusing on it, whatever it is. So crying, you actually can't hide. The moment you're suddenly driving and then you hear a song on the radio and you just cry, okay, that's telling you you've got something there. It's telling you you're attaching to one side of a fantasy, or whatever you want to call it. You're attaching to one side of perceptions. And those tears are actually awakening you to what an outcome is. It's saying, come on, it's time to deal with this. So you may have been blind to all these little things. You hear that song and suddenly you just burst into tears. You're like, oh, why am I crying? Why am I crying? Whatever that is. So it's actually awakening you to, it's time for me to address this. It's time for me to address this. And there's two ways to address it. There's two ways. One is gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And that is have appreciation for the tears. Have appreciation that you've worked so hard and you've got to here and now you're crying. You haven't worked hard and you've got to here and you're crying. And somebody said something to you and you're crying. So have appreciation for those tears, and that's gratitude. Have gratitude for those tears. If you'd like, I encourage you to write a journal, write it in a little note or in your phone. I personally prefer to write it down because it just gives you a different brain to your hand. So have appreciation. Think about those things you're grateful for. I'm grateful I shed some tears today because it allowed me to move on. It allowed me to get the job done quicker. It allowed me to take action, whatever it is. So write them down because it does allow you to move on. And the other one, the very second and last tip, is to work on your tears and emotions. Work on whatever tears and emotions you have, because crying is healthy. So I encourage you, like I said, don't bottle it up. I encourage you to actually do something about it. And when I say do something about it, guess who's here? That would be me. That would be me. I am here for you to help you through this, whatever this is. So crying is healthy. And let's all say it again out loud. Crying is healthy. So that's Deb's. That was very loud. Deb's Cooper, Global Stressologist. Thank you for joining me here today. I would love to know what your favourite tip was. Share that in the comments. So if you love this, the next step is deal with your emotion. Cry, let it go. Inspiration, uninspired, frustration, exhaustion, whatever your tears are. Whatever your tears are today, give yourself a damn good cry. And that's me. Signing off, Debs Cooper, Global Stressologist. Thank you for joining me here today. I will see you when you book that 15-minute call with me. Bye.